you might think it's unforgivable, and I'll move forward and manage it. But when you actually get in and do this work, in my experience, like, I've come to this place of, it's called the grand neutrality. And until I landed here, I didn't know it existed. And if somebody had told me it existed, I would have smiled and said, yes, that's really nice. but I wouldn't have believed it, because I didn't have the experience of that before. And now that I feel it, it's very authentic. So again, the feeling body is what we want to get in touch with, not the mental body. And it's also important to remember that what the mind lands on magnifies. So when we allow the mind to write a story, it's going to increase, I'm going to say, the pain. It's going to increase, the unforgivable thing that happened and whatnot. And if we can take it into the body and go to the feeling and transmute the feeling, just like what you experienced, all of a sudden, something you thought that was unforgivable, that you'll always just have to keep at bay, so you don't have to feel that anymore, it just goes away. And that's another way you can reach your, have access to your magnificence, because that's really what we want to feel. We don't really want to gather all these things in our life and learn to be masters at managing problems. And if we become masters at managing problems and crises, we will build the circuitry to become good at that, but we will also build the need to create crises to manage. What if we built the circuitry to just, live in the flow and just, not have to have those experiences happen, not have to have problems to solve all the time, just being.
Yes, I love that. And I will not be able to say it how you said it. It was beautiful. Building the circuitry, if we're not building the circuitry, I'm going to just ad lib, for the healing to integrate, to become more whole, then we will continue to build the circuitry to manage the problems. That's profound. Right. That's profound. And when people can understand that, that's a game changer, knowing that piece.
It's a huge game changer, because energy flows, where your attention goes. And when you have a lot of interference in your system and the energy is not flowing well, it's going to just be harder to flow. And I liken it to, the light bulb in your lamp. There's a wire that plugs it into the electricity. And if there's a problem somewhere along that line, there's going to be a disconnect. And, and it's the same with the energy flow in our body. If we want that line to be clear, so that the energy can flow fast and easy without having to struggle around stuff and whatnot, and we have to open those channels and build the circuitry, and we do that through breath work. And it's simple. It's not costly. All we have to do is practice it and do it. So. What a greater gift to humanity if we can help people understand the power they have within them to transmute things, not from the mind but from the feeling body. It changes everything, because the information, the mind, what goes on in the mind affects the feeling body, and what happens in the feeling body ends up transmuting through the etheric body, which speaks to the energy systems in the body, the chakra system. And that's what tells the body what chemistry to create, for this system. And we want that chemistry created, to give us the life that we want, not the life of problems and solutions and, problems that we need to have solutions for, and issues that have to be solved all the time. Wouldn't it be nice if we had the circuitry to just let it flow with ease and grace? Yeah. And, feel the joy of life.
Yes. Yeah.
The vitality, there's a vibrant, robust energy within us from our magnificence that is waiting to rise. And when we build that circuitry to do so, it changes. It's a game changer,
Yeah.
Everything gets better.
Yes. Yes. And I just want to emphasize again for the listeners, because I know there was a time in my life, a very long time in my life, where I never believed that was possible. That life was always going to be a struggle. You just may do. If you had a couple lucky breaks, that's fabulous. Be grateful for what you have and not really want for more. And just kind of stay within your own struggle. and not realize that is not at all what life had ever intended for any of us. And absolutely, because I know if it's possible for me, it's possible for, right? Because we're all the same. If it's possible for me,
Well,
it's possible for everybody else. And I know that you have a story that's similar, where you get to talk into how life happens for me, not to me. And that's, I know for myself and the clients that I coach, that's the thing. It's like, this is happening to me. And it's always a story. This is happening to me and that's happening to me. And it's not fair. And how do I manage that? And it's not managing. So if you could speak into that a little bit about how life happens for me, not to me, and the circumstances, how they provide an opportunity for us to awaken. And how did that happen to you?
well, I've been on this journey for well over 20 years, for a very long time. I've always looked at life from a positive perspective, but I also can see where I was only able to perceive life through the lens that I had available. And I'm going to say that the biggest awakening happened when I ended up getting divorced after a long-term marriage. It wasn't what I had intended. It wasn't how I thought my life would evolve. And so it was a very challenging time for me, because it felt like my whole world was ripped out from underneath me. But I also knew that my life was about to get better, even though I had no idea what it looked like. And at the time, my children were grown and gone, and I was free to follow my dreams. And at the time, I had to go back and remember, what were my dreams. What do I want? What do I want to experience in life? Who am I? How do I want to walk this planet? And it was even though it was a challenging time, it was a great time for me to just, I know I was definitely living in this void where there's nothing happening, and yet everything is there, because there's infinite possibility. And it was in that time that I didn't know, I knew I didn't need to figure it out, because I knew that the universe was going to bring me opportunities. And my job was to pay attention and say, what if this thing that's just crossed my path that I wasn't expecting is an opportunity for me for growth? So I started saying yes to things. And the more I said yes, the more I was in awe of, wow, what if I'd said no? Look what I would have missed. And, and the bigger thing. So the story of the divorce became less and less of an issue. And, and at the time I would have said life was happening to me, and it didn't feel very good. But now I can look back and see the beauty of how it was happening for me. And all it meant was that there was a phase of my life that was coming to completion. And it was coming to completion because there was something better around the corner. And it doesn't mean that there was something wrong with that old life. It just meant that it was coming to completion. And we tend to look at things like that, well, even after a long-term marriage, it's like, oh, it must have been awful the whole time. Well, it wasn't, Yeah. If we can honor it for what it was and say, there must be there's something else that's in that, on a soul level, before I came here, I chose to come for certain things. I don't remember consciously what that was, but the universe is guiding me there. So I knew that something was going to birth out of that, and I can look back over these number of years since then, and wow, I can't imagine my life without it unfolding as it did. I just can't imagine. I'm so grateful, and I can now see how it was for me. It was for me tapping in and finding out who I am, how I want to walk the planet, and finding my own magnificence. And I had spent my whole life focusing on my family and everybody else, and not me.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. So beautiful. So beautiful. Oh, Susan, and I have so many more things that I want to talk to you about, and we are going to completely run out of time. So would you be, I'm kind of putting you on the spot, would you be willing to come back another time and to share more information, and just so we can be in this conversation? And because there's people that are going through so many stressful times right now, just with the epidemic, and then of course with and especially in the States. I know you're out of Canada, so I don't know what's all going on there with the rioting and protesting. And
well, we're having protesting here too, and although it's a very challenging time for many people, I am excited about it because it's bringing up something that has not been working, and it's time for us to dissolve it. It's time for us to find a new way of living around this whole issue. And and it's just like an emotion. We keep stuffing and stuffing and stuffing, and it doesn't feel good. It's not serving anybody. And I think it's coming up now for us to consciously move into it and say, what do we need to do to change this? It's not okay for people to be suppressed. It's not okay for people to become angry and violent. And if it's tapping into anger, there's something deeper. Let's root it out and let's heal it and move forward, and bring love to this planet. The energy of love is the highest vibration. And the more we can be that in ourselves, the more it's going to help shift this planet and humanity for the good.
Yes, absolutely. I cannot think of a better note to end this podcast on. That was awesome.
Thank you so much. And yes, I would love to come back. If that works for you, I would love to come back and further the conversation. I think the more awareness we can bring to people to show them how much power they have within them, we all need to be accountable for how we walk this planet. And as we do that for ourselves, it shifts the world for everyone. But mostly for us, we get to live in a, we get to experience our best life ever.
Yes.
If we choose.
Yes. And isn't that really what everybody wants to do, is to experience their best life ever? Absolutely.
Right. And we get to steward that. It's not because somebody else's responsibility to make us better. It comes from within us. So that's what I like to offer to people. I can help guide you there, because I've done it. I've had the experience, and my passion is to share what I've learned so that other people can and live this best life ever.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I am so grateful, Susan, and I want to let the listeners know that you were so generous by offering a 30-minute complimentary consultation for anybody interested in finding out more information about this. And all you have to do is go to Susan at susaneva.com. That's her email, and email Susan, and then you guys can connect that way. And that information, of course, will be on the show notes. So I'm so grateful. My heart is just overjoyed. And thank you so very much, Susan. You are a blessing. You are such a blessing to this planet. And thank you.
Thank you, Neda. Yes, such kind words. Thank you. I'm so grateful.
Me too. And to the listeners, I know that you gleaned all kinds of gold nuggets out of this. And go back and listen to the first episode if you missed that. And Susan's information will be in the show notes. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Have a beautiful week. Much love to you. And we'll see you back here next week. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Please go to nedahogan.com for show notes and other information you can use right away. If you like what you heard here, please subscribe to our show, and don't forget to rate and review right there on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your shows. And don't forget to tell your friends about it. We'll see you next week.